Hey guys, in this episode, we're going to talk about the film The Upside. We're going to give you our thoughts on what made this film so great. We're going to talk about a controversy surrounding the film, and we'll talk about specific scenes that Oscar and I loved. This is episode 111 of the Reel-ists Podcast. Hello, listeners. I'm Donnie.
And I'm Oscar.
And we have our producer, Ruben, as always. Hi, Ruben says. And you're listening to the Reel-ists Podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Before we get started on the film discussion, just want to quickly remind you guys that we're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Team Reel-ists. That's Team REELISTS, no dash. You can also leave us a comment on YouTube, and you can also leave us a comment and rate us on iTunes as well. And just hit us up. We're here. We're available. We want to chat with you guys. Leave us some thoughts on some episodes that we do. Give us some feedback. It's always appreciated.
It's a new year. I'm sure that's a new year resolution, right? For some of you. I'm going to start interacting with Oscar and Donnie more.
Exactly. I know it's been a goal of yours for a long time now, and I think now is the time. So make it happen. So this episode, we are going to discuss the film The Upside, and just want to remind you guys it is a spoiler discussion. So if you have not seen the film yet, do what you want to do. You can continue to listen. We're going to spoil it, but
do what you want to.
Do what you want. Mama.
I knew it. That's what came to my head.
Do what you want. So, as always, we'll get started with some quick thoughts about the film. Oscar, what did you think of The Upside?
You know, I really enjoyed this movie. And in the idea of just like, it's kind of tough because the concept, it's not going to happen for everyone. Not everyone's going to find someone to take care of and get paid $2,000 a week. But it was a nice way to say, if you want to make it happen, you can make it happen. You can turn things around from whatever dark parts you're in your life. And you feel like you're at the bottom. You can find a way to climb up. It might not be the route you think of, or it might not be something that is as simple, but it can happen. So I did like that theme and message that was going on, and you really got to see the development of Kevin Hart's character to go from, what he accepted was his reality to starting to appreciate more things and to be able to see how just a different mindset can really come a long way. The relationship that the two characters have, it was really nice. I thought they were a great pair. To me, it kind of goes on par with what we saw with the Green Book. But it was really nice to see just that relationship and see how they became close and how that had a positive impact on Kevin Hart's character. But yeah, the story was really nice. And there was funny moments. I feared that this movie was going to try to rely too much on Kevin Hart's comedy, because that's what, is going to draw people, because Kevin Hart, you see his stand-up, you know his comedy. So that's what I feared. And I feared that everything else was going to become second. But it actually managed to keep the story first and then the humor second. So when it was time to be funny, he nailed it. You get the humor. He makes the most out of the scenes. There's a few that come to mind, but that's what I think what worked well for this movie. That it wasn't just like, oh, Kevin Hart, be funny in everything that you're in, so we can make people laugh, because that wasn't the story they were trying to tell. Mm-hmm. But yeah, overall, I really did enjoy this movie. More than I thought. I thought my expectations were more on this is going to be a little bit more on the humor side. This is going to just be more about like how people are rich and making fun of them, so kind of that thing. So glad that it wasn't that.
Yeah. Okay. For people that don't know what The Upside is, Philip is a wealthy quadriplegic man who needs a caretaker to help him with his day-to-day routine in his New York penthouse. He decides to hire Dell, a struggling parolee who's trying to reconnect with his ex and his young son. Despite coming from two different worlds, an unlikely friendship starts to blossom as Dell and Philip rediscover the joy of living life to the fullest. I'm right there with you, man, Oscar. I really, 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 really liked this film. I thought it was just nice, and I did have the same thought. I was like, maybe they'll try to rely too much on Kevin Hart's comedy to make it funny, and maybe Bryan Cranston Did I say his name right?
Yes.
Bryan Cranston will be, like super, super dramatic while Kevin Hart's being super, super comedic. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if it was going to be a good pairing, but I feel like it was really, really well done. And I feel like Kevin Hart's comedy moments were toned down a lot more.
Yes.
And they were appropriate, and it did make the scenes that he was, even when he was being comedic, it wasn't over the top and exuberant and too much. It was the right amount that was perfect for the scene. And Bryan Cranston on the flip side, when he had his serious dramatic moments, it wasn't too dramatic or too everything fit the scenes, like all the scenes. I feel like they were a really, really good pairing, and I feel like the chemistry between them was really, really solid. And it did remind me of Green Book. I feel like when you have these sometimes when you have these movies where it's like two unlikely people develop a friendship and a bond that will forever blah blah blah, it's been done obviously,
right, of course,
hundreds of times,
movies you can probably list,
and sometimes it works and sometimes it's like but I feel like this is one of the cases where it really did work, and I really liked it. Nicole Kidman was in this one. She played the executive, in charge of in charge of his finances, I think, and things like that, and kind of his right hand woman, so to speak. And I thought she was great too, and I thought that it wasn't gonna be. I thought initially she was just gonna be there, and at first I was like, why would they put Nicole Kidman in such a sideline role? It doesn't seem like
she's in the beginning to pick him, and then she's monitors. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking they could have picked not such a star to play that role,
right?
But I feel like Nicole Kidman really brought something to that character, and really, even though she may have come off cold or whatever to Dell because she didn't know him and she had every right to be wary of him, there was still something that I was able to connect with her, and she still engaged me even when she was being kind of a negative Nancy at times. But it was, we knew she was being that because she's so much cared for. What's his name in the movie? Bryan Cranston's character.
Oh, I don't know.
It's
it didn't click. It didn't stick so easily.
I know. Do we know it's Dell is Kevin Hart, but
right.
His name is Philip.
Yeah.
Philip, and her name is Yvonne. So we knew that
call him Phil in the movie. I don't know.
Probably, okay. But we knew that Yvonne cared for Phil so much,
right.
So that's why she was so on Dell about every little thing and saying, that's 2 strikes, and after 3 strikes you're out. But I thought it was a really, really good film. However, some people are a little upset. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's been some backlash for Bryan Cranston because he played a quadriplegic man, and he is not, in fact, quadriplegic. He doesn't have a disability at all. So the backlash has been that they're not casting actors who do have these disabilities. They're hiring people that don't have these disabilities to portray these people, and he's been getting some heat from that. And there was actually an actor on Twitter, I forgot his name, but he tweeted, he was like, people with disabilities are the only roles that we can play in mainstream Hollywood and movies, and the fact that they're giving these roles to actors who don't have disabilities is a little upsetting. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I didn't really think too much of it while I was watching the movie, and even after I read that tweet and some of the articles that have been put out, I was like, it's not that serious. But I can see the flip side of the argument. I can understand why some people would feel that that's not the right thing to do. And I know but I just feel like there's always going to be that kind of talk about, it's like there was some people that it didn't get as blown up, but some people saying they're hiring straight actors to play gay characters in movies, or they're hiring. I feel like that you can always kind of argue that case, but at the end of the day, it's like it's an act, that's what an actor does. They portray characters that are not themselves,
right?
So it's
and now that's where it starts to get lost in the fight of actors being able to play the roles, because an actor's dream is to be able to play a character that's far from them, portray something that they're not and that's the exciting part for an actor, to take on the challenge. So to limit them to be like, oh well, now you can only play the character that's in the same race, that's in the same income line as you are, and like it starts to like be like, well, you just want me to play myself, and that takes away from it. I feel like for actors to be stripped of who they can play, I just don't like that. I understand, yes, you know, that's the opportunity for someone with the actual disability to shine, if that's the case. I'm going here with the assumption that they casted who they felt was best to tell this story and deliver those emotional beats. So if they brought in actors that did have the disability and they just weren't seeing how they can make it work, or maybe they have any chemistry with Kevin Hart, I'm just assuming the casting process was more thought rather than just like, oh yeah, we just chose Bryan Cranston. I understand he has the star power, but as long as there was an attempt to see who can best play the character and Bryan Cranston was just the best that can deliver this movie, then I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's understandable to be, you know, a little bit upset of why does an actor get to play a character that, you know, we can find someone that's actually like that. And there are some times where, you know, it fits. Like in A Quiet Place, you had the daughter who was actually deaf. The actor was also. So that like those times it works well. But this is also the lead role, and to an degree, in its business, and business relies on what it guarantees profit, and a well-known actor makes it a little bit easier to believe that we can make our money back and in addition to profit. So there's a lot of things that happen that I can understand both sides of it. But yeah, I don't like that it's starting to limit of like who an actor can play. Next thing you know, he's gonna be like, oh, what's your income? So yeah, you can't play a rich person. You don't fall actually into a rich category line. Like it's like what?
Yeah.
Like yeah, just it's understandable, but the way the business is, it's tough to understand why it should be changed.
I even thought of when I read that article, I even thought of that show that you watch, Speechless.
Oh, Speechless, yeah.
With the kid who I think he has MS.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe, yeah.
But the real life actor has that as well, right?
Right.
I don't know if it's MS, but it's some disability.
Yeah, right.
Because I remember I asked you, I was like, does that guy really have this disease, or is he just like that good of an actor?
Right.
But he did. So I do understand that, and I do get both sides of the argument. But at the same time, like you said, it is a business, and if they felt that Bryan Cranston was the man to get the job done, you know, and I'm sure they know, you know, obviously they weren't trying to offend anyone.
Never the case. Yeah. That's never the intention. It's always just a matter of they want the actors that are well known for big roles that can bring in the audience, and it's unfortunate, but that's the business side of it. So I mean, I can understand maybe if this character was a supporting character, let's just say he was the equivalent to like how Yvonne was in this movie, or maybe to the physical trainer, then I could see, yeah, why not take a chance, give this person an opportunity. But for the lead role, you that's the big draw. And I mean, if they didn't go that route and they chose someone just for the sake of, oh, because that person is like that in real life, therefore they can they can make the character work. If the results were different, it might have gone worse for the company, because then they would have lost on the movie. And it's a movie business. They don't make the movies to as much as we, you know, want otherwise. They don't make a movie because they found the passion in the story. That's what the director and the filmmakers do with the crew. But the studio only greenlights it when they see dollar signs. Yeah.
That's at the end of the day, that's what it is. And, you know, unfortunately, they don't sometimes look at how it'll rub people the wrong way. But it is a business. So, but, you know, I mean, despite the controversy, despite the backlash that some people are giving the film, I just want to say the film is a great film, and I think it's beautifully told. And it not only does it have like three major stars that we know, Bryan Cranston, Kevin Hart, and Nicole Kidman, but it also had Juliana Margulies. I don't know how to say her name. I apologize. But she, most people know her from The Good Wife. That's like
that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who are you?
And then we have Aja Naomi King, who was in one of my favorite shows, How to Get Away with Murder. Whoop, whoop. She was playing Latrice, who was Kevin Hart's girlfriend / mother of child in the film. So that whole so Kevin Hart's character kind of had this subplot of him trying to reconnect with his baby mama and his son. He had been in prison.
Right.
Just came out. So he's trying to reconnect. And there's obviously some bad feelings there with the mom and the son, and they resent him. Did you feel like that kind of avenue of part of that film was fine? Do you feel like it flowed, or do you feel like it was distracting at all?
I didn't mind it, but I also felt this wasn't what the movie was about. Like, we understood, like, to give one scene to say, like, Kevin Hart is doing this, which was, I think, the scene where they got him the wife, well, not the wife, but they got the girl and the son, the big house. Mm-hmm. I think that's all they needed to see. I don't think we needed to see the smaller beats, just because it took away from what the movie story core is at. And the core is just the bond between the two, and how it really had an impact on both lives. Like, you know, you had Philip, who hired Kevin Hart because he felt Kevin Hart would be able to, I believe, was like, do what's needed, or like kill him or something like that. Not kill him, but like
DNR. Yeah. So he felt that Kevin Hart's character would be detached enough to basically not take any
like allow Philip
not take any extreme measures to keep Philip alive.
Exactly.
Because Philip basically, in a sense, emotionally had given up and wanted to die.
Right.
So I think he knew. I think he sensed that, oh, this guy probably won't care if if I die, so let me hire him. I think that was one of the things, one of the reasons why I hired him.
Okay.
And then obviously just he was not like the rest of the applicants. They had towards the beginning when they were looking for someone, they were all, very like, oh, let me be your arms and your legs, and
right.
very kind of like
it's about the mind.
Yeah, very, and I'm sure a lot of people would want that, but Kevin Hart just came in like, yo, I need this signature. Like, let's move on.
Right.
So I guess that piqued his interest, and he was like, you're hired. And then from then on, we get a pretty fun, enjoyable ride, and we see them going on certain adventures and and having funny moments. I really liked the scene where they went to the park and smoked weed.
Oh.
Because that had crossed my mind too. I was like, I wonder if they prescribe medical marijuana to people with disabilities. So I was like, and he had mentioned he was in pain, so that did cross my mind. I was like, I wonder if he ever got like prescribed some medical marijuana, and then that was just a really funny scene that I really liked. But and then the whole 14 hot dogs bit was...
That was, made me want a hot dog.
Yeah, I really did.
Because I had the intention of buying a hot dog before, like, to go watch the movie with, and they didn't have any when I got to the counter.
I know.
So that was a slap in my face, like, jokingly.
I know. I was like, is there security cameras that, because you were like, I just want a hot dog. And then they're like, we don't have them, which was the first time, let me just say, that I ever heard...
We don't have hot dogs.
Yeah, that's
and it wasn't like it was 11 p.m. showtime. It was a 9 o'clock. They have a few more movies left to play, so
come on, AMC, step it up.
Come on,
step
AMC. I'm calling you out, Orange.
I know, right? Seriously. But one scene I wanted to talk about was the scene where basically Philip was finally going to meet in person this woman that he had been writing to.
Yes.
They had what was he saying? An equestrian relationship?
Something like
that, where I guess it's just, you just write letters to each other. I guess that's what that means.
Sounds exhausting.
I don't know. I know. Like, man.
I got to think of a romantic thing to write. Have some, like, meaning to it.
I mean, it's cool, though. And the concept was cool. I mean, it was very old school, very romantic.
It was like a pen pal, but, like,
Victorian romantic era.
I don't know. That idea, I just, like, can I just send you an email then? Like, wow. Is it the penmanship that is, like, what's gonna, like, make you see that I'm, like, a good person? Because I have a terrible penmanship.
Maybe it's just old school, and
like, my penmanship, I feel like
your penmanship isn't that bad.
It is. I mean, it's not the worst, but it's not. I don't think it would be like, he wrote to me. Like, it'd be like, you should just send me an email. It would have been easier to see what this word means. Does this say love, or does this say lava? Because I'm not sure.
Okay, so don't ever handwrite a letter to Oscar, because he does not have the time.
You can send me the letter, but I just won't.
You ain't gonna get one back.
I'm gonna email you back. Write me a letter and write me your email name so I can email you back.
Okay, well they loved it, so that's why they had done it. I think they did it. I think they were writing to each other for like what, a year, like over a year.
Over a year, yeah,
something like that. And pretty much, basically, they meet, and he's the whole time Philip is worried about if she's going to be able to look past the fact that he's disabled. And at first, it seems like she is. She's like, I Googled you. I already knew about it. Don't worry. So then we're like, yeah, this is great. It's going to blossom into something. So they're on this date and she's feeding him. And then it kind of starts to go south. And I think from what I got from the film, from some of the scenes that they were showing, because they were like zooming in on the little spill that was on his jacket, and then they'd show her face looking at it, and or show her looking at his hand. And I think it was trying to basically tell us that while she did think she was going to be able to handle it, she was maybe a little bit in over her head, and she started kind of really setting in like everything that has to be done for this man. And I think it just was kind of slowly, I don't know, not turning her off, but like she was like, wow, I didn't think about this. Because I think she said at somewhere in there, she said my therapist said this wouldn't be a good idea, and that it was, and I didn't think it through. And I was just like, I mean, I don't know how you felt, Oscar, but I was getting so mad at her, because I can understand, yeah, it's a lot, you didn't think about it, but it's like,
you're not even giving it a shot. Like, it's still like, it's just the
you
first.
Guys just met.
Right.
And it's like, nobody's like, I mean, yeah, Philip's hopes were high. He was like, he felt like he had an emotional connection with this woman. But I felt like she could have been a little more sensitive to that, and could have just not been like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. This was a bad idea. I'm sorry. Like, I felt like it was really pissing me off.
Yeah.
And I felt like she was coming, and even when she towards the end of that date, she was like, I hope we can still be friends. And I'm like, I feel like that's like
the dagger.
Yeah. And I felt so bad for Philip, because it's such an awkward, uncomfortable situation to be in, and he can't just get up and leave. It's like he has to, like, I mean, he can move his chair, but it's like he can't a normal person would be like, you know what, thank you, but it's fine, I'm gonna go, have a good night, and like leave and drive off. But it's like he couldn't do that, and he was like, I think you should, he had to tell her to call Dell to come back and get him. And then he tried to leave, and then he like bumped into a waiter and bumped into a patron, and like somebody spilled coffee on him. So it was just like rubbing salt in the wound. That was a really hard scene for me to watch.
Yeah. I see. I saw it a little bit differently when they kept zooming in on stuff. I thought like she was like crazy. I thought she was gonna go crazy, because they like some of the like zoom in focus on her just it seemed like she was like trying to hold back from like stealing something or like killing him. Like, I don't know. I just didn't get like a
really.
Yeah, like I like when you watch this scene, like they're just on her focus. Like I was, because they showed his hand and then they showed the stain, and I was just like, why does she look crazy when she like I mean, I guess maybe it was the angle that they showed her it, but I wasn't getting like what you said until you had mentioned it afterwards. I was like, oh, I can see how that could be the interpretation of that scene. But I was not getting that. So to me, I was getting lost as to
like she's gonna kill him.
Right. So that to me, I was getting lost of like, how is this going south? Like what was being said? Because to me, everything sounded like it was going fine. Obviously, I wasn't thinking like this was first love, immediately. So to me, it was just like, well, what's going on? Like, why does he want to leave all of a sudden? So it didn't showcase that directly for me at first, but thinking about it and getting the explanation, I can see it makes more sense now. And then probably if I watch it again, I probably will get a little bothered by like just like how she decided to be honest. But I appreciate the honesty, but I think there's a way to still be like just caring and still be able to consider people's emotions. Mm-hmm. So it's not about like necessarily, oh, let me lie to you and be like, oh, this was a great date ever, I'll see you next time, and then go AWOL. But you could have just been more of just like, let's just enjoy this and we'll talk after, or we'll see, we'll think about it, we'll sleep on it, rather than just be like, you know what, I'm thinking in the future here it's not going to work out. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it like that. It was a bad choice of words too that she was also throwing.
Yeah. So that kind of brought us to like I guess the film's sort of climax, because Philip was so upset about it, and he kind of blamed Del for it, because Del was the one who was really kind of pushing for them to meet. So then he ends up firing Del, and it's not a super like climactic scene or anything, but I would say that's what, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's where we kind of climax in the movie.
Yes,
where he like fires Del, and then it's like, oh, fine, and then Del goes and I assume gets another job, and then Philip kind of falls into like this depression.
Yes.
And it starts pushing everybody away. Yvonne leaves because he's just pushing everybody that he loves away. So then we're like, oh no. But then the physical therapist comes and finds Del and says, hey, he's really bad. No, he won't listen to anyone. Maybe you can talk to him.
I would like to know what the time span was.
Yeah, right, because
his beard,
it seemed like his beard grew out, and then like Del got a new job, and it seemed like he was seasoned, like at his job, like he had been there for a while. Like it even kind of came across like that was his company.
Almost. Maybe if it wasn't.
So I wish they could have. Yeah, I know. I wish they could have given us just a little more insight as to how much time went on, because we kind of weren't sure.
Like, did Yvonne just leave, or had she been gone for a while now?
Yeah, so that could have been a little more clear, but then we go to the kind of the resolution. Del goes and he's like, hey, let's go for a ride, and then kind of pulls Philip out of his slump again, and shaves his beard, and they go parasailing what is it? Parasailing?
Parasailing, yeah.
Is it parasailing?
Yeah.
And then Yvonne comes back, and it's just like, it's a great ending. It's happy. Well, and it leaves you on like a positive note. So, yeah, that was the film. Kind of just summed it up for everyone pretty much. But, what did you have any like favorite moments from the film?
There was a few. I did like the dance party scene.
You took mine.
Oh, sorry.
That was a really good scene.
Despite the full song of Bruno Mars, his perm.
Right? The full song. It's my birthday.
It was hilarious. We were joking about that because they paid for the song, obviously, so they made sure they got the most out of that. That was a great scene. The aftermath of like him coming to that. Well, actually, I'm sorry. A little bit before, when he was upset that everyone was at his place celebrating his birthday and he didn't want to. That was a nice moment. There was, I think, the touching moments that they were bonding were really nice. Like when they went to go that night out and they smoked weed and had the hot dogs. Like those little things were really enjoyable to just watch them, because they both were learning about each other without feeling like they're trying to one up one. So it wasn't like Kevin Hart was, trying to be like, you don't know what it feels like to be in my shoes, or he is like, oh, you don't know what it feels like. They weren't trying to like showcase their situations. It was just more of like, let's just go out tonight and have some fun, and let's go do this. And it was like, despite Philip's like reservations of like, oh, I don't want to, I can't do that, he was taking chances, and it was paying off for him. He was just like, oh, I can still do some things. Mm-hmm. And it just led to a comfort with Philip. So those were like things that they did were really nice to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think to me the ones that I guess enjoyed that I would see again would be the dancing scene as well, and then the portrait reveal that Kevin Hart's character Del drew. I thought that was really funny, just with like everyone was just like, oh, okay, sure.
They were like trying to find nice things to say about it.
It's definitely abstract and stuff like that. Yeah,
and he got $50,000 for it.
by being tricked by he didn't have involved in getting it paid, but
Philip tricked one of his snooty
his
neighbors into buying it.
Yep. And
telling him it'll appreciate in value and over the years, and that was really cool. I hope that was true.
I mean, it's based on true stories, so
maybe. I hope that'd be nice to find out that specific thing was accurate. Yeah. There was, we always talk about like our favorite scenes, but like this film had so many good scenes. It's hard to just a lot of them stand out. Like the scenes that we've already talked about. I really like the scene when they were even this was like a small thing, but when they were in line buying the hot dogs, and then the cashier was like, oh, and what about him? Like, what do you want to get for him? And then he was like, don't do that, man. Talk to him, ask him what he wants.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked that, because I feel like that's true. Like, a lot of people, whatever your disability is, sometimes people just assume for some reason, if you're in a wheelchair or whatever, you can't speak or you can't communicate. That's just an assumption that I think a lot, and I don't think people try to do it maliciously, or some people just don't think about it. But it is true. I even remember, not to get too personal, but like when my dad was like, when I'd go somewhere with my dad, and because he was in a power chair, and sometimes they would ask me, instead of asking him, like if we're at a food place, like that happened before too, and and I was just, but I didn't do like, I'd be like, oh, don't ask me, he's right there, ask him, because like I already knew what my dad wanted, so I would just be like, oh, he wants a blah 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 blah
right.
blah. But I even thought about just like times with my dad where that's happened. So like, and I'm sure a lot of people who are disabled or know people with disabilities, that seen this movie maybe have gone, or watching it going, oh yeah, that's true. Or, that's accurate, or, oh no, that's not how it really
maybe
is.
Except for the income level. Cause
yeah.
That was the big one where it's like.
Yeah. So Ruben, just to let you know, Dell was making $2,600 a week taking care of Philip, but it was a live-in position, and he had to be on call like 24/7.
That's fair.
So that's like,
do you accept this job?
Would you take the job? That's over 10. It's like 10,000. It's over 10,000 a month. No, that's wrong. No, that is. It's like 10,000 a month.
Right.
About.
No.
You wouldn't take it? It's 120K a year.
Because that would be your life.
Yeah. But would you just like sacrifice a year of your life to make like that much money?
That's true, huh? Like a year?
You can make 120K over.
You'll bond with someone.
Yeah, actually, if you put it that way, if I see it like as a year job, that's not.
What a sellout! Just kidding.
He said, "What a sellout." I would. Would you take it, Oscar? I would take it for a year. Probably a year.
I probably still wouldn't. It's just not my comfort.
Yeah.
To me, to have to be that attentive and like those details, I just don't think I would be able to like do it on a level that the person would be satisfied. Like, I don't mind like, doing a minor thing here and there, but to be able to have to do that for too long, I think to me, I wouldn't just be able to. I'd gladly be their friend though.
Yeah.
I don't mind visiting them, or
Yeah.
Can I get a little bit of paycheck from that?
I mean,
Wow.
wow, that's all you have to be paid to go visit someone.
Oh my
All right.
Is there not a job to be someone's friend?
You know what? You actually can.
Yeah, there is.
See? So why are you guys yelling at me?
I thought about it a couple years ago.
I'm the entrepreneur over here thinking.
All right. Well, with all that said, Oscar, what would you give this film? Your final real score?
Yes. So this movie is going to be a 4.5 for me.
Ow!
It definitely was just a good feel movie. It had a lot of great moments. The things that you probably will take away as bad, even for myself, are very nitpicky things. Some things that just were more of just like, personal taste that just didn't click, or maybe the delivery of it. For me, like the biggest one is the intro. I don't like when movies like to do intros of a scene later in the movie.
So like Escape Room?
Yeah, both of them actually. They did. I just don't find that as a great way to start, because it doesn't hook you. It hooks you, but it hooks you in the wrong way, because that's coming. So now at that point, that character, or if I'm thinking of Escape Room now for that. But like for this movie, that they're like in some kind of like sequence where they're rushing somewhere, or you think they're rushing somewhere. So when they says 15 hours earlier, it's just like, I know that this at some point they've bonded enough where they're gonna do this adventure, and it takes away, because you're just like, I know that's happening now, rather than I want to see it organically play out and see that they're in a situation that's just like, I'm concerned about what's gonna happen or the consequence.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of, the little things like that just didn't work for me. It works well for TV though. I will say it's quite interesting. But yeah,
I feel like it's kind of like a easy hook. Like it's like, because you always like, I feel like whenever there's a movie or a film or whatever being made, they're always like, okay, what's the hook gonna be?
Right.
And I feel like that's just an easy go-to, like, oh, let's just take this scene and put it in the forefront. So, but I get what you're saying, though. It is hard to kind of like ignore it because you know it's gonna come at some point, so you're it's in the back of your mind. But okay,
but yeah, little things like that. But overall, I loved the performances by the actors. I thought the story was really nice, and it was just a great movie to kind of just see things differently, in many ways. Whether that's like whether you're just poor, whether you're rich, you just have an opportunity to really get insight on how other people live their lives that you may not necessarily be close to or attached to like that. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
And they're still friends.
Right?
A little post title.
Wish we could have got a photo. That would have been cool.
That's what we were waiting for. We are just like, oh, photo time. No photo. They did do a photo for
Green Book, yeah.
For Green Book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They did. Okay. Well, I hate when we do this because it's not planned. It's not premeditated. We don't know each other's scores before we do this, but it's going to be the same score as yours, Oscar, 4.5. I thought it was just such a good film. It was uplifting. It was encouraging. It was funny. It was adventurous. It was sentimental and heartfelt. Obviously, Bryan Cranston, Kevin Hart, and Nicole Kidman just delivered. I think they were so good. The story was enjoyable in the sense that, like, there were hard things to watch, hard scenes to watch, and it was like sad, but it moved me emotionally, and I just liked the whole film, man. It was just a really good one. It was really, really good. Like, I'm trying to think of like other things to say other than it was really good, which it was. Ruben, you got to see it, man. One thing I was gonna say was I wish that, because at the end we see Yvonne come back and we see Philip get all teary-eyed because he's so happy, and he tells her he missed her, and she tells him she missed him. So I want to go kind of investigate and see what happened with that, because throughout the film Dell was like, "Oh, are you guys a thing?" And they're like, "No, that like we're not a thing." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they got together.
I will say, regardless of like the actual outcome, if they did or not, I feel like to me, I don't know if they did it right where it felt like they were like actually a good pair. I felt like it was a little bit too more on the like, because they work together closely, therefore they're just gonna be good, like a good match. I don't know. It didn't click. Like the way I was seeing it play out, I was trying to see like, okay, where is it that yes we can see them, but it just I took it more as like she understands him, but that doesn't necessarily mean she loves him in that way. So and she was also married and got divorced, but yeah, I'm interested to see if they did get connected, because I can also see them as just great friends,
really
like,
really good, like a good platonic friendship.
Yeah,
I could see that as well. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll do a little digging. Although I will be crushed if I come to find like they did get together, but then it didn't work out or something.
Maybe you should.
Like, I know I kind of want to like just keep it at bay and maybe just
wait for the
live in my
wait for
fantasy.
the digital to come out. Maybe that might be in the extras and bonus features.
Right. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 as well. So that's it, listeners. Let us know.
Ruben
what
automatically.
You think.
What's the score that we said Ruben automatically gives if it's a movie he hasn't seen?
Oh, it's a 1, right?
It's a 1.
Or is it a 0.5?
Is it a? What was it? Oh, I forgot already.
I think it was a 1.
It was a 1.
Yeah, if he hasn't seen it, he automatically gets a 1.
Wow, Ruben. Following the critics right now.
Ruben, it wasn't a... What are you talking about? It was such a good film. How could you give it a 1?
He has to think about it.
Yeah. You have a week starting now if you want
to go see a movie.
To go see the film, and then you can change your real score. That's the deal. 1 week from, so it's by default it's a 1 until you've seen it within the week.
That's hilarious.
So it's a 1 from Ruben, but it's pending. It's pending
with an extra 1. So does that mean that's a solid 1 for Escape Room then, because he didn't see that one?
Yeah, and replicas as well. So Ruben's hard to please,
man.
Beginning of 2019, man.
It's tough.
All right, well, we'll see if he'll come around.
What is your first like movie you plan to watch?
I know. Is there any like upcoming ones that you? No, nothing's on his radar.
I want to watch that Vox Flux. I was thinking about it.
That was so 2018.
It didn't come out in 2018.
It was showing in some theaters. Has it been wide released or no? I mean, no.
Well, I mean, I think it should be close enough to find one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like a specialty market anymore.
Right. All right. Well, hopefully you see it. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Let us know what you thought about The Upside. Share your thoughts on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or iTunes. We'll listen. As always, we appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, everyone.